Springfield's 9th annual Ride to Remember taking place today from start to finish in Springfield. The bicycle tour honors fallen police officers and firefighters. Western Mass News reporter Lexi Oliver is now live in Springfield with the details.
Matt, riders met at the intersection of Main Street and Boland Way in downtown Springfield this morning and pedaled to Worcester and back for a total of more than 100 miles. Escorted by police officers, bikers celebrating at the finish line of Springfield's 9th annual Ride to Remember.
I was dead last the whole way, but it went really well.
The bicycle tour traditionally goes from Springfield to Boston, but this year riders pedaled to Worcester and back, dedicating the event to 6 Worcester firefighters who died in the line of duty battling the Worcester cold storage fire, as well as fallen officer Manny Familia, who died this past June while trying to save a drowning teenager.
It's very important to me personally that we honor our fallen, so that you let the families know that they didn't die in vain, and they are never going to be forgotten.
7.5 hours and 116 miles later, riders returning to Springfield after a long day.
Probably not going to move for a couple of days, but yes, it feels really good.
Some riders tell Western Mass News it was an honor for them to participate.
I actually work for the city of Worcester, and but I live in Agawam, and I also as a special on the Agawam, so it was a big meaning for me to ride in the ride.
Emotions were high as bikers arrived in Worcester holding a ceremony to honor the fallen heroes. Some, like Matthew Bice, have been participating in the race for many years.
The ride went great, everything went smooth, we held together as a pack.
But for others, it was their very first time biking such a far distance.
It's taught me a lot about my own limitations, mind and body, but more importantly, it's taught me about that this is really just a mind game. And really, if you just push past your inhibitions, your fears, your doubts, your anxieties, your stresses, you can actually accomplish anything, and there's nothing that's not accomplishable.
And Nitin Bhatnagar says he really admired the camaraderie of the ride.
All the riders were supporting each other, as well as all the marshals were helping each other, pushing them along, even to the point that if any of us were having a hard time going up a hill, they would just put their hand on our back and just give us a gentle nudge to go all the way to the top. And the whole idea was to finish together. And we started together, we ended this race together, and isn't this what we do in life?
This year's race raised a total of about $75,000 for various first responder charities. Live in Springfield for Western Mass News 11 at 11, I'm Lexi Oliver.